Conversations with gospel artists, pastors. Our favors would guide us through all the troubles and disasters. Indeed, we fell short, but the Lord never passed us. Our belief in God is the most important factor. It's the Veleka B Project. You're now tuned in to the Veleka B Project with your host, Veleka B, lover of God, founder and CEO of Set Apart and Chosen. Sit back and relax and enjoy the conversations.
Hello, family. It's your girl, Veleka B, founder and CEO of Set Apart and Chosen, and this is the Veleka B Project. I'm so excited to start a new series of different talks. So we're going to go from Ask the Pastor to Help, I Need a Therapist. And that's what we're doing on today. I'm so excited to have one of my old therapists, which, again, I tell y'all this all the time. Love my therapist, but when you change insurance companies, sometimes you have to change therapists as well. So I am excited to have my old therapist, Dr. Regina Davis, on with me so we can talk about help. I need a therapist. Let me tell you why I need a therapist on tonight, or whatever this is now. So to my radio family, podcast family, social media family, I am excited to have this series on so we can kind of get some things addressed and answered. And I've been hearing your requests, so keep submitting them over to us. And I'm excited. So let me go ahead and bring on my old therapist. I keep saying old therapist. And I like let me tell you what I really like now, Miss Regina, is because we're not connected on the patient therapist side now. So right. I feel like it's not a conflict. So it's even better to kind of do this relationship right here.
Yes, that's good. Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm good. So introduce yourself to everyone, beautiful lady.
Okay. Well, my name is Regina Davis, and you did call me doctor. Unfortunately, I'm not a doctor.
I'm sorry.
but I am a licensed.
I'm claiming doctor, y'all.
Okay. But I am a licensed professional counselor, and I've been doing this for several years. And I have to say that you were one of my most enjoyable clients.
She's saying that because I gave her a hard time, y'all. Let me put my mic down. She's saying that because I gave her a hard time, and I do apologize for my bucking spirit, because I did have a bucking spirit. She used to tell me, well, why don't you do A, B, and C? And I'm like, but why? I'm not the reason why A, B, and C is happening. They are.
Well, it always goes back to you, though. It's about your happiness and your being good. So that's why.
Okay, I'm going to let you slide, but I still love you.
Okay.
All right, so today's topic, guys, is help. Well, the series is called Help, I Need a Therapist, but today's topic is I am sick and tired of you trying me. The one thing I do love about Ms. Regina is that not only is she's a therapist, but you also as a minister to it, right?
Yes, I am.
Like a minister. So with this, we're going to talk practical, and we're going to also talk spiritual. Okay. So here's the thing. It seems like whenever I became saved, I think people tried me a little harder. You understand what I'm saying, Ms. Regina?
I understand.
They tried me. They try my Holy Ghost. So. And it's hard. I don't care what y'all say. You pray about it. And if you're so into, you wouldn't let it bother you. But I'm human at the end of the day, right?
Right.
So some people try you. Some situations try you. And I just want to know, from a spiritual, practical point of view, how do we handle conflict? Because it's really sometimes a conflict. So how do we handle conflict when people try you, or situations try you, or everyday life try you? How do we handle conflict? Could you please help me with that?
Okay. Well, I think I can help you a little bit with that. I mean, because it happens, it's happening a lot. I think even with this pandemic, people are on edge and tempers are flaring and all those things like that. But you don't want to catch a charge, for one thing, because it's easy to go ahead and you don't want to put your hands on anybody or anything like that. So a lot of times what we have to do is try to avoid those things, those people, those places that can kind of trigger us into reacting. Spiritually, anger is not something that you have to avoid totally. The Bible tells us to be angry, but sin not. So it's an emotion that we're going to feel, but it's just an emotion that we have to try to control so that we don't react in a way that's going to get us in trouble or get somebody else hurt, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
You explained, but I need help. Like, give me some practical things I can do to control. Like, do I need to count to 10?
Oh, yeah. If that will work for you. Sometimes in the heat of that moment, you just don't want to count. You can't count.
I forget how to, I don't know from 1 to 2 when I get heated.
Right.
Like, I'll be trying. But let me tell you what I have from this time, from last year to now. What really, I have really shifted, because I am, back then I was quick to pop or quick to say something. Now what I do is kind of take a step back,
right,
and evaluate what's been said or what's been done. And I'll pray. Don't get it twisted. I do pray, everybody. I do pray about it. But to me, if the next morning I still have these same issues or I'm feeling some kind of way, then I have to address it in a certain way. And I know I have trigger points. I'm for sure everybody have trigger points, right?
Yes.
So with my trigger points, I know a certain response or a certain thing that you may trigger that emotion, right? So some people may judge, like something happened to me not too long ago. Some people may judge the way I handled it, which I sent a message to someone and said, hey, it bothered me. And it's still kind of bothering me, but I just want to address it, that I didn't like how it was handled and whatever. But now I'm over it because I'm able to address it. And honestly, I was over it. But from my understanding, some people may not like because I didn't come to them in their face and have that conversation or picked up the phone and call them. But to me, that's the way right now in this moment in that particular situation is how I needed to handle it. Because again, if I have trigger points, unfortunately I do have trigger points, and I'm working on those trigger points every day. Right. If I have trigger points, I don't need to have certain things to set me off, because to me, once your tongue get the lashing, there's no coming back. You can ask for forgiveness all day, but people don't forget. Does it make sense?
Right. It makes sense. Yes.
So you can give me your input on that as well.
Okay. Well, avoiding the conflict is going to escalate it. Now, and like I said, you don't want to escalate it. You want to handle it and what's best for you. I mean, because it all boils down to you, not the other person. Yeah. You're going to have to do what's going to work for you. And the best thing to do is to, first of all, ventilate. Get those feelings out, get those thoughts out. So if you're not going to talk to the person, write a letter to them. That's one of the things we use as a way. Write a letter saying all those words that you want to say to that person. It's sort of like journaling, but it helps. It helps because you're not going to go face to face to that person, which could escalate into something you don't want. But what it will do is allow those feelings to get out, so that next time you see that person, well, you've already vented. You don't need to vent then. You don't need to retaliate in any way. So, and other than that, just kind of, you have to prep yourself, because a lot of people have anger control problems. So you have to kind of prep yourself. You do that by, just making meditation a part of your regimen, meditation, deep breathing. Yeah, counting to 10. If you're in a place where you can do that, all of those things are good coping skills. But, we're talking about real life situations when you really want to, get somebody back for what they've done. So, you have to do what you can to just kind of bring it down a little bit.
Right. And of course, y'all, we do know to pray.
Prayer. Yes, prayer is good.
But right now we're touching on spiritual, which is prayer, but we're also touching on practical, the everyday human thing about it. But also too, Miss Regina, how about if you're in a situation where things keep happening over and over again, or like, say, for instance, you have a family member. Every time you go around this family member, they keep nitpicking about the same old thing. And nothing you don't say, Lord, I don't forgive this person again, but here she go again, or here he go again, and I'm about ready to not bust him in the mouth, but this is right off the top. Right. Y'all. But you know how people keep triggering. I know the Bible says you forgive, and how many times they forgive?
70 times 7,
70 times 7, over and over again. Or, the Lord forgive you, and God will forgive you. I get that. I do understand that. But in order to protect your peace, and I think that's the most important thing, we have to protect our peace because so much is going on in society, the world, and we're stressed dealing with COVID. We're stressed with deaths every day. We're stressed with jobs and not really knowing if you're going to really have something, or you step outside to pump gas. Will you get And I know people are saying you got to trust the Lord. I get it. I do trust God, but we got to use common senses as well too. So when we find ourselves in situations, and we have to be in certain situations or certain environments, how do we fix not dealing with conflict all the time?
Right. Okay.
How do we deal with that?
All right. Well, you touched on a lot of things. So let me just say this now. Forgiving is not forgetting. It's not condoning what that person has done. You know, it's not saying that what they did is right. But that forgiveness is more something that you do within yourself, you know, just so that you can be calm, so that, you know, you won't do anything or say anything that you'll regret later. I'm glad you brought up about the family members, because we're about to enter the holiday season. And I know you notice sometimes during the holiday season, these people start meeting up for Thanksgiving dinner, and it ends up in a fight or shootout or whatever.
Right.
Because they've escalated. But if you know that that person is a trigger, you got enough time now. It's September. You can start making your alibis and excuses to not go because you want to avoid that trigger. You want to avoid that conflict so that you don't have to stress yourself any further. And because these days people they don't really care. They will shoot you. I think I heard on the news yesterday, somebody used a bow and arrow to shoot at somebody.
I saw that. Yep.
So, you know, the minds of people are very fragile because of this COVID, because of just the uncertainty of what's going on. And, you know, you may say, well, it's my family. I want to be with them. But hey, sometimes it's the family that are the ones that you have to kind of refrain from the most, because they can hurt you the most. So, you know, so from a spiritual standpoint, you know, the Bible says if somebody does something to you, or hits you, turn the other cheek, which isn't so much of a physical thing, but what God wants us to do is just to show a different side from that person. If you know they're a nagger, they just, you know, some people are just natural born agitators. So if you know that they're agitators and like that, you just have to ignore them, show them a different side. Don't let them know that they're getting to you. And most of the time they'll leave you alone, you know. But
sometimes.
But see, if they can see that they're pushing your buttons and it's getting to you, hey, then they're going to keep going.
True. I'm about to say now, I don't know who you've been around. Yeah, exactly.
They're going to, But the hope is that, you know, they will eventually leave you alone. But if you know that those people have, you know, are constantly like that, you have to avoid those triggers. You have to avoid those situations so that you don't get stressed out, because that stress turns into physical illness, heart attacks, all kinds of things. You get so mad, your heart can begin beating so fast. Next thing you know, you're in the hospital, your blood pressure is sky high, and you've had a heart attack for what? Right. Because this person caused it, not, you know, wasn't anything necessarily that you did.
So do we have any like exercises that we could do? Like, do you have any exercise that you can suggest, like maybe breathing? It's so funny, like my little watch, my Apple Watch. And sometimes when I get irritated, my thing will go off and say breathe. And I'm like,
yeah, because you stop breathing. Yeah, and that's very good. Apple did a great thing with that. It tells you when to stand up, when to breathe, and all that. So yeah, if you begin to practice these things every day, mindful meditation, even you can go to YouTube, you can go to apps, you can get these guided meditations. And if you do those things daily, then when you find yourself in a situation, you'll find that your body is naturally calmer than it would be if you had not. So deep breathing, of course, listening to meditation music at night before you go to bed, and in the morning before you start doing things, and listening to the news and all those things, just to try to, you know, keep your body calm so that, you know, you don't necessarily react in such a negative way when things do come up. So yeah, deep breathing, meditation, those kind of things, bodily, physical exercise helps, because what you're trying to do is just keep things in balance hormonally as well.
But how can we work on triggers when we identify what triggers are?
Mm-hmm.
How can we work on the trigger, like the things that trigger you?
Mm-hmm.
So in some situations, I know people will say, "But just cut them off." Certain
Mm-hmm.
situations, you can't cut certain people and things
Mm-hmm.
off because
Mm-hmm.
it's necessary for your day to day or your week to week or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you work on? Now it's at the point where you have to work because sometimes, and I hate when people make excuses. Oh, that's such and such, and oh, that's Sister Foot or whatever. That's how she acts. That's what she does, or that's just who she is. Okay, I have accepted who you are. So now I have to work on how I handle you as a person, right?
Right.
So how do you work? And that's the thing, people don't really identify with it, but those are trigger points. So how do people work on their trigger points? First, you have to identify that you have trigger points. That's the first and foremost.
Right.
So how do we work on trigger points?
Well, usually, the basic things we do. Okay, you're sitting next to a person at work every day, and that person's agitating you. You know, you can at some point you can kind of ignore them, and you can walk away from a situation when they begin to do things. So, you know, physically you can walk away, you can avoid the situation, but you know, the other thing you have to do is to think in your own mind. You know that. It's kind of irrational. Okay, this person is doing it, but what is it actually going to do to you? What is the worst thing that could happen? Sometimes our thoughts become a little bit irrational, and the trigger isn't as bad as we think it is, and it's not going to cause as much problems as we think it's going to cause. So we have to begin to change our way of thinking about those things that are causing us the discomfort. Okay. Right. So, you know, there's so many things, but like I said, if someone's just constantly doing it and they're trying to purposely do that to you, then you're going to have to find a way to, you know, talk to them about it. You know, I don't know, let them know exactly how you feel about it. If it's a situation where you just have to be there, you know, and you have to be in their presence, then let them know, because like that's one of the main things is talking to the person, getting a place of understanding and a place of compromise so that you can coexist in whatever the situation is. Because like I said earlier, you don't want to catch a charge from, you know, someone causing you to, you know, become physical. And it's easy because we all have the possibility of having a temper and of getting enraged and then acting out on that rage. So we just have to do whatever we can.
Let me tell you how I deal with it now, which I'm so much better. What I try not to do is try not to entertain so many conversations about it, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So if you don't deal with so many conversations where you know that negative energy is going to come into that thing, like for instance, if I say, hey, Brad did A, B, and C to me on yesterday, and I can't stand them. But then you got cheerleaders on your side saying, girl, if I were you, I would cuss Brad out on tomorrow. I try not to enter those conversations where I know that set of friends or that set of people will be like adding fuel to the flame and just get me all hyped. Like, oh yeah, when I see them, I'm gonna cuss them out. You know what I'm saying? So, and we don't cuss because we say, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even entertain the negative energy bringing somebody else into that conversation. What I do is like shut down. I pray about it. I talk to God about it, and then I'll build it up. But now, when it's necessary for me to address, because every situation is not necessary to address, right?
Right.
So now when I address it, or I do or don't address it, it's not a problem. But here's the thing too. I call it making someone invisible. I will make you invisible real quick. Like, and it works so well. Let me tell you why it works so well. Because if I make you invisible for so long, it's not like I'm ignoring you. When you do hit a room, you hit a room and say, hey, Veleka, or hey, whatever. I can look at you and say, oh, hey, and it's not fake and phony.
Right.
It's like I just have knocked you out of my atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? And you're like a total stranger now. When I come in, I'm gonna be very pleasant with strangers or whoever. So that's how I'm able to work on myself, like really praying on it, getting it to the point where I just knock you out of my existence.
Right.
And again, when you walk in a room and I see you, I'm very pleasant. And what I thank God about, honestly, and I know people may say it's weird, but when I see you, I'm not holding on to any animosity. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not mad. I'm not angry. I'm not cussing you out of my head. And then when I walk away, I could think about it maybe a couple of hours later, but like, you know what? You wanted to hit them last month or last year, and you don't even feel that way. Well, thank God, because that's growth. I call that growth. I call it maturity. People may not call it maturity. They may say it's immature. I don't care. It's the way, whatever or however you handle a situation to make you feel better, that you don't want to hurt anybody or choke anybody out or cuss anybody out. Hey, so be it. However you handle that situation. As long as you're not out here causing bodily harm or cussing and acting a fool and doing crazy stuff. However, audience, listen, however you handle that situation so you're not mad or hurting anybody, do what's best for you. If it takes prayer, if it takes therapy, look, I'm gonna tell you, my best friend now is God and a therapist. Here we go. You know what I'm saying? Those are the best things that I can have right now for everyday single life. So go ahead, Miss Regina.
Well,
talking.
yeah, and it's important to understand what anger is and understand the cycle of it. And first you have that triggering event, the thing that happens to you, and then you get what you just mentioned, the negative thoughts. And once those negative, if you go past those negative thoughts, now you're saying you stop right there, but some people begin to get an emotional response. They start feeling a certain way, and then it develops into something physical. Your heart starts racing, or you start sweating. Then you're physically feeling like, hey, I've got to do something about this. And then that's where the behavior comes in: the yelling, the hitting, the fighting. And I'm talking about those things because during this pandemic, we've seen such an uptick in domestic violence and domestic arguments and things going on. That's because of people have been in this close proximity for this long period of time, whereas they have had this way where they could take we'll call a timeout, where they could go to work and they'd be around different people and then come in. But with this, it had a lot of people just kind of staying at home. So domestic violence has increased over this time. So you have to understand that cycle of anger, and then understand whatever it is that you need to do to get yourself away from it, so that you don't end up in trouble or end up, saying something that you'll regret. Of course, we're supposed to, be kind to one another and those kinds of things. But God also understands that we do have emotions. We have feelings. We have things that happen to us that cause us to want to react. So understanding it and doing what you said and taking a time out, those are some things that also can help a person to kind of stay safe.
Absolutely. And for the ones that are just tuning in, my name is Veleka B with the Veleka B Project, and I am talking to Miss Regina Davis, a licensed therapist. In our conversation, first of all, the topic is I'm sick and tired of you trying me. In this episode of Help, I Need a Therapist, and I may not be coming from my point of view or what I'm dealing with, but just everyday life. I see this all the time, having a major platform like I do. So many things come my way, and it's just, So with that being said, Ms. Regina, do you have any scriptures you can give us, any practical lessons that you can give us that I can give to my audience?
Well, I would say, what all preachers would say, stay prayerful, of course, because as you're prayed up, then you kind of keep yourself in more of a spiritual mode, whereas you're not really answering to that carnal nature, which allows you to, want to retaliate, fight back, yell, do those kinds of things. Stay spiritual, and read your Bible, read all of it, because God sends comfort through those words. He's given us instructions, and most of us know the commandments. We know what we're supposed to do and not to do, but just, being comforted, reading things that can comfort us, like the Psalms and, the scriptures like that kind of brought peace. David, he wrote a lot of those songs, but when he was going through so much turmoil, everything was going on. So scriptures like that can help, and just staying around positive people, staying in positive situations. If you know it's a negative situation, try to avoid it as much as possible. Try to, and the next thing with couples or with people who are in close proximity, therapy is good. Get into counseling, get so that you have a mediator, a person there who can kind of mediate when you have conflicts that are going on and, you're just in the house together. It really works. It helps a lot to do that. So I would just, encourage people to just try to stay positive, get whatever help you need to, just to keep from getting in any trouble or, laying hands the wrong way on somebody.
Hello. Hello. You lay hands on you. Okay. Just saying. You don't lay hands no more, girl. Like them days are over.
Right.
Thank God ain't. People like, she always said that. Thank God I'm not where I used to be.
Yeah. Just a little bit more day. I mean, fighting at some point may have been fun some years ago, but now there's nothing positive that could come out of that.
Absolutely. Well, I do appreciate you coming in. You're always looking out. I do appreciate that. And I forgot to mention this is first. Guys, this episode is sponsored by Chosen Cosmetics by Veleka B. The link is in the bio or at the bottom of the page. I do appreciate it. But I do appreciate you, Ms. Regina. Can you let everyone know how to follow you, connect with you, or whatever we have?
Okay. All right. Well, you can just remember my name, Regina Davis. I have a website, soulcarecommunity.org. If you don't remember that, there's a website called Psychology Today, which a lot of people are familiar with because therapists are actually on that site. A lot of people go there, but you can go to Psychology Today and look me up, Regina Davis, send me an email, and I'll get it at either one of those sites. And I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me on this episode today.
Absolutely, girl. You saved me so much last. Listen, y'all, I'm not gonna even lie. Thank God for Miss Davis because I was on that urge. I felt like I was on the urge of a nervous breakdown. But thank God for her. She came in. Even though I had a bucking spirit, I did. I was like, what you want me to? You want me to do what? Like, why you want me to do that again? But it made, as I thought about it, because even my significant other spouse, he was like, yeah, you don't talk to that lady no more. And I'm like, what do you mean? So I noticed that you act different when you talk to her. I said, different in a good way or a bad way? He said, no, it was good. I said, so what you trying to say? I need a therapist or something? So I do appreciate you so much. So guys, thank you so much. And thank you again, Miss Regina. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Veleka B Project. This is Help I Need a Therapist, where we talk today about I am sick and tired of you trying me. So thank you again. I really appreciate it. Thank you, family, so much for supporting the Veleka B Project like you do. God bless you, and we will talk to you soon. God bless.
Good night.
Well, that concludes this episode of the Veleka B Project with your host, Veleka B. Until next time we meet, be blessed.